the 11 film and TV adaptations of comic books this year, 2025, starting with number 11. Coming in at number 11 is, for me, Eyes of Wakanda. Eyes of Wakanda was an anthology series that I think would have benefited a lot from a weekly release. Watching it all of once didn't quite give it the scope that the show felt like it was trying to have. I do think there was some interesting storytelling in here. I really struggled with the animation. I had a hard time connecting with this particular art. So the story, though captivating at times, didn't draw me in as much as I wanted it to. It felt rushed, I think, because of the weekly release. And also, I didn't find myself connecting to a lot of these characters that I do generally love. The world of Black Panther, I think, is one of the richest in the MCU. So this not landing for me, maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe it was the release model. Maybe it was the animation style. But this one is going to be the one that I feel like kind of just passed me by. I enjoyed it while I watched it, but I don't feel like I'll watch it again, which is unfortunate. So coming in at number 11, still not a bad time and still better than a lot of other adaptations. But for this year, which was a pretty solid year in adaptation, my number 11 is going to be Eyes of Wakanda. Coming in at number 10 is a very different property. It is a feature versus a show. It is a movie that, likewise, I feel like its format cost it what it could have been. And I think both of these are at the bottom because of the what could have been, the DNA and the details and what opportunity we saw in these or I saw in these properties really hurt their chances because it felt like I was writing something of my own during them or I felt what the original writer director team was trying to make and it got truncated in this one's case. It is Captain America Brave New World. If you've seen my review of this, you saw that I had a good time watching it, but overall, the finished product felt very neutered, and that is really unfortunate. There is only so many times you can release something and have it just pass by that are as important as a political espionage thriller with Captain America and also the original Captain America being a twice wrongfully imprisoned black man and not have it feel like it's saying all of the important things it needs to say. This movie features a red rage monster in the White House. They breeze by it. It features a black man as Captain America not being accepted and then fighting injustice. They kind of breeze by it. It felt like they had to really neuter this film. It felt like there was an amazing film in there, but it didn't get the chance to be the film I think it had originally been. And on top of that, it is a movie that gave its entire third act in the trailers. So the movie is like a ticking clock of like, oh my God, is Red Hulk coming? And then the whole time you're like, well, I've seen the cherry blossom ad, so you know it's coming. So yeah, I feel like they had to market this in a way that kind of hurt it. And I also feel like the movie itself got kind of neutered in the edit. So unfortunately, number 10, wanted to love this a lot more, but number 10 for the year is going to be Captain America Brave New World, which again, still not in even the bottom 5 MCU films. There's 36 properties now. It was a solid year. This one is just on the lower side of that journey. So we're now comfortably into our top 10. Number 9 is going to be one of the more recent ones. This show just ended a couple of weeks ago. It is a show that I really love the first season of. I was a little more not neutral, but a little more like, okay, good, not quite as much for me, season 2, but I really respect what they set out to do. It is Gen V season 2. Number 9, Gen V season 2, I think suffered from the finale not feeling as impactful as it could have for the universe. I feel like the world building is very good with Gen V. I feel like it builds out Vought and the World of the Boys, but it itself as its own show, I was like, oh, they're setting up Godolkin to be this huge big bad, and then the end just didn't allow for that. It's setting up Marie to be this super powerful character, and they're training her to manipulate stuff at like a Homelander level. And I don't know if they didn't let her get there because she's going to be that in The Boys season 5. I don't know if there was it feels like there was like the big 2 episodes at the end missing. They were setting up Marie the whole show. And then it didn't feel like she really got to do as much as they set her up to do. And I like a lot of the details of like Jordan and the characters that are getting really beautiful arcs. I really love what they did with Emma. I really am curious about where Kate goes. But when the show ended, it felt like it just ended. Like, I didn't feel as much as I had felt through the journey. I think episode 5 is the best episode of the season. There's some really good action in there. There's some really good character development in the overall arc, but feels like they introduced, Voldemort and took out Voldemort in 2 episodes. So, I'm really impressed with all these actors. The ensemble is great. Hamish Linklater was a standout as the villain this season for most of the season. And I really like all these actors. So I'm just excited to see them do more, and I hope they get a season 3, but overall a little disappointed in the way it petered out at the end. But I do hope it leads to a really big final season of The Boys, as season 5 is the end of The Boys. So we will see how it lands when all is said and done. And maybe it'll be like, juice worth the squeeze. But like I said, a lot of good things to like about this season. The acting, the action at times, some of the pacing mid-season was really exceptional. So it is right there at number 9. Coming in at number 8, we've got a property that I would say is the first like level up. So 11, 10, and 9 are like low good, not great, but like C's and C pluses. And now we're getting into the B minus B range. Now we're into the good, but could have been better. And that is going to kick off with a show that I think I liked more than a lot of people. I know I liked it more than some of the folks I've talked to at parties or at work. It is Ironheart. Ironheart, I enjoyed quite a bit. Ironheart, I think, definitely suffered from its release model as well. I think releasing this as 2 chunks was really weird. It didn't allow for the cliffhangers that were clearly built into the show to really get their time to cliffhang. I do think that it is a character that deserves the importance of the show. The show felt like it really knew what it was. It was confident. It had an incredible rhythm. It really said a lot of things, and it said them well. I love Lyric Ross's performance as the AI best friend that formulates into something more. And I think that what we could have gotten from Dominique Thorne long form could have been one of those great, the way that we see Miss Marvel now, I think we should see with Dominique Thorne's Ironheart, and I hope she gets more time. I really enjoyed seeing Alden back. I mean, it's first time in the MCU, but Alden back working with Disney. I think Alden Ehrenreich is such a force. It was so cool to see that character. I really, really enjoyed us finally getting Mephisto, and I thought those scenes were really special. The overall world building, I think, was really exceptional. It felt so lived in. It felt like it could live alongside the Black Panther universe as well as the rest of the MCU. So I was really impressed with that, and the editing and the flavor. I really liked it overall. Some of the negatives, I didn't love all the henchman characters. I didn't feel like that ragtag game was as, connected as they wanted to portray them as. And I really think that it had more potential than actuality, but I do think it was better than a lot of people said it was. And I really think overall it captured that Brian Michael Bendis Ironheart. It captured what Dominic Thorne was setting out to bring us in Wakanda Forever. It brought a beautiful friendship to the MCU, brought us some cool new villains, and set up Mephisto really interestingly, hopefully getting used in the future. So overall, it is number 8, which I really, really dug overall. All right, I am going to hit number 7. Let's see here. Number 7 is going to be another show that ended very, very recently. A show that I think had a better ending than most people did. The ending of the show isn't my problem much. Gen V, the end was my issue. This show, the end wasn't my issue. I personally liked this show quite a bit. We're into that good but not great category. Like I said, we're in that mid range of the year. I think my biggest issue is the moments and things I liked about the first season didn't get their time to shine in the second season, and that is Peacemaker season 2. I personally really love when a universe can feel like it is everyday people in extraordinary circumstances, and I think that is exactly Peacemaker. I feel like these characters all get to feel like they're real, to feel like they're tangible, to feel like they actually exist in our world. And that is such a rare thing in comic book TV and film. My issue is by the time all those shared moments happen, we have to rush around things because of things like the twist. We have to rush around interpersonal moments at the end where I feel like we were told to feel something about a character versus getting the time to feel them as a character. So as much as the characters felt real, as much as I really liked them, there were moments, and I'm not talking about the end, I'm talking about like the middle or even the beginning. Now the end is the thing that a lot of people have been really struggling with. I loved the last 3 episodes. I thought They did such a good job making it feel like a continuation of Superman with the, Lex Luthor moment, the Justice Gang at the opening, and then the very end having all that musicality and the theme song of the show tie into the messages of the show. The theme song was the theme of the show, and I enjoyed the musical element and ending the show with getting to see the ship and what that memory actually was, and all the trauma and the twists and turns this season are so like not being discussed now that the show's over. But the reveal of Harcourt with Rick Flag Jr. was such a smart reveal. It's such a logical thing, and the hatred we meet them with, like Harcourt meeting Peacemaker, instant loathing, and of course you would repress any feelings, and of course there's so much drama there, and then of course Frank Grillo's vitriol. I really liked the ending. I just wish there were a little more interpersonal moments as we had in season one. Season one, I felt like there was a lot more connection between the characters. This season, it felt like it was kind of jettisoning a certain way. But yeah, overall, enjoyed the season quite a bit. Overall, it is in that good approaching great. This is the right there at the halfway point, 6 out of 11 for the year, and that is my personal experience with Peacemaker season 2. That is going to be number 7. Now we're at the middle with number 6. This is my biggest surprise of the year. My biggest surprise property, the one that I was not excited about at all, the one that I was very casual about even watching. To be honest, this is a show that when it was announced, I thought I would just catch it when I caught it, and I wasn't really going to be making a lot of time for it. I reacted to it at Real Rejects, and I think the entire time I kept saying, I cannot believe this is one of my favorite Marvel things in years. I think it did all of the things that Marvel does well with their adaptations. And it built a world that was exactly what a what if should be. And it's in a genre that is not my thing whatsoever, using a character typeset that is also not my thing whatsoever, because I am not a horror guy. I am very much not a zombie guy. I'm not even that big on Marvel zombies in the comic books, but Marvel Zombies as the movie show they made is absolutely number 6 of the year and one of my favorite Marvel things in a very long time. So now we're into the great area. Everything from here up, I think, is truly great. Marvel Zombies is a property that should have been either a theatrical movie, which it was going to be until the Spider-Man rights and they wanted to include Spider-Man, or it should have been a weekly show because the cliffhangers they managed to write in and managed to work are genius. This is some of the best. This is why it's a shared universe stuff since Avengers, like the first Avengers. I love, obviously, like Infinity War is one of my favorites ever, but that first Avengers moment when you're like, they can make this all one universe, I got that same feeling in Marvel Zombies. Having the outbreak happen in San Francisco is genius with the Pym particles and all the things they made work. Oh, right. Shang-Chi's also there, making the outbreak this giant epic and then using martial arts and fighting and then going into like Asgard and going into Wakanda, going into, Atlantis. They made all of the worlds feel like you were actually globetrotting. It felt like a global threat. It felt like something worthy and as big as the Marvel Universe, all while utilizing these actors very well, all while giving them their proper amount of time. And it actually gave our phase 4 and phase 5 characters their young Avengers moment, their Avengers moment. So I really loved it. I'm not big. I like Robert Kirkman a lot. I'm a big fan of Kirkman. I'm not as big a fan of the genre of zombie. So I'm very casual about the Marvel Zombies comics. I like this better than the comic, and that is always a high praise. I liked this better than most of what Marvel has done with their shared universe stuff. It didn't feel like it was an Easter egg fest, but there were Easter eggs. It didn't feel like a cameo fest, but there were crossovers. It did all of the world building stuff in a way that I was really impressed by. I loved Marvel Zombies, one of my favorite Marvel things in the last few years, and my biggest surprise of 2025 by a large margin. And I would say now we're into the greats because I think it is a piece of truly exceptional art, and it definitely had a lot to recover from because of how phase 4 and phase 5 have been treated. So I think it is an outstanding bit of art, and it needs more respect, and it should have been either weekly or theatrical. It should not have gotten dumped in one day, especially it's now Halloween. Now, why did that come out late September, early October, whenever it came out? Like before, it should be thriving right now. Anyway, that is my number 6. We're into the top 5, you lovelies. Would love to see some guesses in the chat what you guys think my top 5 is going to be. Would love to read your comments down below after what your 11 ranking are. My personal number 5 is coming in at Daredevil Born Again. This show had the impossible task of blending worlds from the old Netflix world into the Disney Plus world. It had the impossible task of using footage and a new team altogether without sacrificing what it was building up to or scrapping 100% of everything, using a really cool bottle episode format one time and also using footage from other episodes other times. I do think, however, the best episodes are the new team. And that makes me even more excited for season 2. I think Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who are responsible for Loki season 2, for Moon Knight, for a bunch of incredible indie film, I think they really understand Daredevil and Daredevil as a Netflix-esque show. And I'm really excited for season 2 to just be that universe without having to be a quilt of old things. But I really love the episode 1 and the last 2 episodes, which are theirs. I really love that we got these characters back, that, we get Foggy and Karen back. We get Punisher back. We get the feel of Bullseye finally fighting Daredevil and it meaning something, the malice, the evil. I really enjoyed most of the choreography. I really enjoyed just getting the Netflix feel back. And it had a very, very hard road back to us. So this felt like 10 years ago. We got to, finally bring these characters back. I'm even more excited for season 2. It's one of my most anticipated things for 2026, but at a confident 5, I'd say 5 and 6. Now, like I said, Marvel Zombies, great. This great. We're into the greatness with the top 5 and 6. Now, number 4, I'm going to just straight up say 4, 3, and 2 are interchangeable. So we've gone from 6 and 5 being great. Now these next 3 are just awesome. These are all I would say solid A minuses. We're into the A minuses. All of these are interchangeable. Any given day, it could change which one is going to be 4, which one is 3, which one is 2. So keep that in mind. But with that in mind, one of them has to be 4. And in that case, it is going to be a movie that I think most people were surprised by how good it was. I expected a lot and I got a lot. I think this one, when we look back at this year, will probably be the thing that's like, oh, right, that came out that year. And it'll be a very strong memory of like things turning around at Marvel, because this is a movie that is a small, thoughtful, um, intimate comic setting, but then has huge world scope. But they keep even the third act intimate. And I was so impressed at the mental health and all of the things they handled in this. It is, of course, Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is what you can do when you trust your director, when you trust your writers, when you, see list characters. That's a character set you can actually play with. They're not as tied to continuity as your Spider-Mans and your X-Men. This is what you can do when you have as big of an ensemble as Marvel. This is what you can do when you let a universe breathe, and then you can do things like a mental health movie and a movie all about trauma in a very trauma-filled phase 4 and 5 after the blip. I think they did such an exceptional job with this. I love what they did with Sentry's abilities actually mirroring depression, and what they nailed with anxiety, and what they did with I think Yelena Belova has gotten less screen time but more emotional impact because the maturation of these movies. So I dug the comedy of Red Guardian. I love seeing Bucky back. Everything worked for me. Ghost, I think, was slept on. And I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is better for me than Ant-Man. And I think Ghost is great. She finally got her due here. I like Sentry here more than in the comic books. I think what they pulled off here is really exceptional. A really great villain. A really great first, second, and third act. Something very, very special. Really, really love Thunderbolts. Now we're into the A minus category. Gave this film 4 stars. I've only given 26, I think now 27 films, 5 stars. So my highest is really 4.5. I don't give 5. But 4-star Marvel film, they had 2 of those this year. From one 4-star to another 4-star, a movie coming in at number 3 that I was super impressed by overall. Fantastic Four. 4 stars for Fantastic Four. Coming in at number 3 is Fantastic Four. This is what I've always wanted to see production design wise at a Fantastic Four. I, outlined a multiversal outside of our universe Fantastic Four outline 10 years ago and was talking about it all over the internet. And clearly this is what I wanted. Not saying they took my idea. I'm saying it was a good idea. And I'm so glad they did it because that's what I wanted to. I think they needed to keep them separate and then bring them in. And I think they did that really well. I loved how lived in their universe was. I really wish we'd gotten to see the montage in the beginning with all the villains and let it be like this really fun, already established superhero universe. We felt it, but it would have felt like more if we met, the myriad of villains they talked about fighting that they shot. Malkovich wasn't in it, but it felt like a lived-in world. The production design is exceptional. I love how much the Future Foundation feels like it is helping this world stay safe. I love the utopian idea of the whole world working together. The second act of this film, I think, is the best second act in Marvel. From the time they land at Galactus, through the Silver Surfer chase, into the birth, all of that. That second act is, I think, the best second act in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it captures the awe of Kirby, the weirdness of the space adventure. All that stuff is great. I have some issues with the casting. I have some issues with the choices of. I mean, my favorite member of the Fantastic Four is Human Torch, and I did not feel like that got to be what Joseph Quinn played. I think Joseph Quinn's a very good actor. I'm not blaming Quinn at all, but I don't feel like that's Human Torch. So that kept it from being any higher. When your favorite character is a lead and doesn't feel like he gets to be the character. But overall, what they did with Silver Surfer, making her Shala Ball and that connection to Johnny, genius. What they did with the protectiveness of Sue, her maternal self, and then the scientist of Reed, setting up a darkness, but also letting him be, a wise, broken man, loved for Reed. And I think we're going to hopefully get, as we grow, more and more the Reed I hope for. But overall, it really worked for me. Yeah, I really liked it. I do hope that Pedro feels more like Reed and that somehow Quinn will feel more like Johnny. I doubt it. This will probably just be a thing I have to contend with as a comic fan that has strong opinions. Those things are hindering the experience for being any higher. It's some of the best production design. It's some of the most visually wonderful Marvel ever made. But characterization wise, half of the team didn't feel like the characters to me. So it is going to be on the. I think it's on my bottom of top third of all of Marvel because it is spectacle and wonder and Fantastic Four and all those things did hit. So really glad that the Fantastic Four finally got their time in the sun, and I'm hoping it only grows for me as a universe as we develop them more and more. All right, next up, coming in at number 2. I don't think many people would have this here, especially considering how long ago it came out, but I had an insane time with this experience and realization of kind of like Marvel Zombies in a way, what a what if could be. And this isn't even technically a what if, doesn't even come out of what if, but it is something oh so very special to me. It's my favorite comic character actualized in a brand new way. It is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. My number 2 of the year for comic book adaptation is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This did the incredible thing, the sensational thing, the amazing thing of adapting some of my favorite comic storylines through the lens of the MCU, but by subverting MCU expectation. You turned Tony Stark mentor into Norman Osborn mentor, Coleman Domingo crushing it. You had this incredible Tombstone gang war storyline, but you did it with Tombstone being a kid, Lonnie Lincoln. You knocked over your LED light out of excitement. You had this incredible paralleling of how Lonnie and Peter Parker have that, important nature nurture element to their storyline. And I love that it took the time to humanize people doing crime. It took the time to make New York a character. It took the time to have this be a friendly neighborhood. I loved all of that. So to me, this is one of the best Spider-Man adaptations ever. I think this is up there with like the Spider-Man video game. I think this is obviously up there with, some of the great storytelling of Spider-Man in long form, like the other animated series. And that's a high bar. Spider-Man 94 is near and dear to my heart. So this right here, I think is some of the best villain stuff, some of the best neighborhood stuff, some of the best Spider-Man stuff. It is my very comfortable number 2. Now we're into solid A territory. 4.5 stars. Incredible work. Love the animation. Love that it felt like Ditko come to life at times. Love how different and strong it was of a choice. Really loved your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man number 2. Now that leaves one property. You guys can probably guess. I really loved this movie. It was a movie that I've waited, I hate to say hyperbolically my whole life for, but this is a movie I waited my whole life for. This is a character that I always wanted to see in the way that I see him on screen. I didn't grow up with the 78 one. My Superman is now 2025 Superman. This is how I see the character. This is such a rewatchable film. This is what I think we need right now. Like hope and kindness as virtue and letting the world be a little cheesy with hope and saccharine goodness. An actor that can actually say gosh and golly and you believe it. A world that already has metahumans throughout. A bright and colorful comic book come to life, a villain that is just arrogant selfishness, a reflection on our world that is also not trying to just be our world. It is a reflection of, it is a comic book take on, while still being like, yeah, no dudes like that. And I love that kindness as punk rock is pervading into the pop culture. I think I've thought about this movie more day to day than any other property this year. I've thought about the messages and themes in this movie more than any other. I've thought about supporting characters and leads more than any other. I saw this in theaters more times than any other superhero film since, man, probably since Infinity War. I think those are the only two I've seen 4 times in theaters, like in a run. So for me, this is what I've waited 37 years for. Started reading Superman, or looking at pictures of Superman. I wasn't reading, but like when I'm 1 or 2, everyone knows who Superman is. I definitely fell out of love with the character in my teens and early 20s because I got cynical and I got, jaded, and he was too powerful and all the things, and then fell back in love with the character in my early 30s. And then, now in my mid 30s, getting to see the character in the way that I've always hoped, as I matured into seeing that goodness and kindness is his superpower, in seeing that Clark is an important asset to the world. Love this movie. Really got a lot out of it. I definitely think, it's a universe that I'm excited to see grow. I'm honored to get to work with this universe, and doing all the work I did in this movie definitely affected my experience. Getting to see David before, the world met him as Superman is definitely affecting. Being a fan of Nicholas Hoult and seeing him, you know, be revealed as Lex Luthor. The whole journey of this experience was so special for me. From the trailer event back in December a year ago to now, bringing my family to the premiere, all of that is obviously affecting my experience of the film. But I luckily got to see the film early, and I got to separate my premiere experience from my actual just tiny screening experience. And every time I saw the movie, I got more out of it. Every time I saw the movie, I experienced awe and wonder and joy. Yeah, I think it's really something special. It is my number one, A. Good call, Jail Xander. Yeah, I really, really dug it. So yeah, Superman, number one, pretty confident. That is going to do it for our ranking of the 11 things, adaptation, film, TV, that came out of comic book, film, and television this year. Coming in at number 11 was Eyes of Wakanda, 10 Cap 4, 9 Gen V, 8 Ironheart, 7 Peacemaker Season 2, 6 Marvel Zombies, 5 Daredevil Born Again, 4 Thunderbolts, 3 Fantastic Four, 2 Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1, and number 1 Superman. And that was a solid year in comic book movies. I don't care what anyone says. Out of those, I'd say, 6 or 7 of them are in the top half of, oh my God, we made this thing. And only a few, I think, aren't worthy of the conversation after a few years. So really impressed with what we got this year. Really enjoyed the comic book adaptations and all the things. Let's dive into some super chats. You love it. Actually, before we do that, I would also love to know below. Please, please leave your 11. 12 if you've seen Invincible. I haven't. So include whatever adaptations of film and TV. I would truly love to read your ranking. I would love to know what you thought in the order of 12 to 1 if you saw Invincible. I really want to see other people's experience of those, because I could easily see Thunderbolts over Fantastic Four. I could easily see, because your life experience is going to shape your thing. So I really want to read your comments. So let me know your ranking in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed my journey through that art.